Welcome to the Ravenswood City School District's regular board meeting of September 11th, 2025. The meeting is called to order at 6:06 p.m. We will begin with roll call. Trustee Bloom? Here. Trustee Shabomim? Here. And I myself, Laura Nugent, am present, so we do have quorum today. We will move on to item number 2, which is the approval of the agenda. Do we have any questions or comments regarding the agenda?
I believe we may have to table item 4C. We're not able to vote on
Any other changes to the agenda?
No.
All right, so do I have a motion to approve the agenda with item 4C pulled?
I will make a motion to approve the agenda with item 4C pulled.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. We're now moving on to item number 3, which is from the floor. Do we have any members of the public who would like to address anything that is not agendized? Because this is a time to do so.
Through the chair, I have no speaker cards this week.
Perfect. So we will move on to item number 4. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda with item 4C pulled.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with 4C pulled.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. We'll now move on to item number 5, which are board communications or reports.
I will just say that this month, September, is the month of suicide awareness and prevention. So if that is anything anyone is dealing with, there's the Suicide National Hotline that is 988. And there are many events that are happening in the county that are in Spanish and in English. So please log on and get the help that you need if you need it, or learn more if you don't know anything about it and what it means. It's a great month to do so. There's lots of information out there, and there's always support. So thank you.
I usually never make announcements because I feel like someone else is going to say them, or I feel like I'm self-serving. I make speak of announcements. So, but this one I'll say, starting in October, Street Code Academy will start hosting its tech support Tuesdays for anyone in the community to come to the building there at Sweet Home Church and get any kind of support, hardware support, software support, use support of your technology. So just want to, I'm sure I'll make that announcement again as October approaches, but just want to put that in everyone's ear. So, yeah, and then there's one more date. Smoke alarms. There's like free installations of smoke alarms that the city of East Palo Alto is doing for residents. So when is it? I have it somewhere. It's September something, and I just wanted to pull that out because that's really important. I want to change your batteries every year, but then also just to make sure you have functional smoke alarms. And if you do not, or if you need help with installation of those or testing, they have volunteers who give you free smoke alarms and help you install them. And
it is on September 27th, anytime between 10 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. and they will come to your home. And you can call the smoke alarm hotline at 650-259-1769 to schedule that appointment. It is in English and Spanish. So if you hear the Spanish translation, you can call and speak in Spanish and then schedule that as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We will now move on to item number 6, which is our superintendent report.
Trustees, I just want to give a brief update of our priorities in action. And as you know, over the last 2 years, we've developed our shared vision, our learner profile. And last year, we released our community action plan, which is the roadmap on how we're going to achieve what we want to be true for students, focusing on 3 priorities: literacy and language, attendance, and talent. And we have goals specifically that we want to achieve for 25-26 school year. Under each of those 3 priorities. Specifically for language and literacy, just to reiterate, 65% of our students will be proficient at the end of this year in TK2, as measured by DIBELS. And And then we want to decrease our distance improve our distance from standard by 15 points as measured by the CAS for 3rd through 8th grade. We also want to improve our multilingual learners' proficiency in English by 50% of our multilingual learners improving their status in their English proficiency. And then for attendance, we are going to increase our ADA by 96% and decrease our chronic absenteeism to less than 30%. And then we want all educators to continue to receive quality feedback on a regular basis, and to ensure all of our teachers receive a meaningful evaluation process, meeting all timelines with quality feedback on the next steps to improve instruction. And so we have a clear vision with moving with purpose and precision, and we see that in our day-to-day work when we launched the first day of school, August 13th. And so our priorities and action for language and literacy is what we've done so far is ensuring that there is a clear master schedule where we have designated tier 1 to instructional time, implementing ELA instruction in tier 1, tier 2, to address all the levels of our students in those in reading and ELA. And we launched our curriculum for ELA almost the 3rd week of school, August 25th. And our foundational literacy instruction officially started last week. All of our families will begin to receive the family-facing year at a glance that was developed by our teaching and learning team. So Ms. Bloom, Ms. Nunez, hopefully you're going to be in receipt of that soon. And the families in the room here as well, so that you know exactly and how students are progressing and should be progressing and throughout the academic school year. As well as teachers have already administered the beginning of the year assessments. And so today you will receive a report on where we stand at the beginning of the year. Our teachers and team members are also implementing the LPAC for our new enrolled students so that we know where they're starting in their English proficiency journey. And most importantly, our universal tier 2 time and our flex period at the middle school has started. So our students who need the intervention to accelerate their reading skills and proficiency are receiving the just right instruction. And then around attendance, all the sites implemented our Strong Start plans to build relationships, establish routines, and establish a strong sense of community. Our teams at the beginning of the year did a great job documenting precise attendance, and we're going to adjust our Tableau data to not have the students who are no longer with us included in the numbers so that we have the accurate ADA for you all that we can start reporting on. Sites are actively monitoring average daily attendance. I just met with our chief academic officer who has plans in place to identify kiddos who have missed a certain amount of days. And those are the families we want to target too as well when we bring them in for conferences. And a lot of planning is underway to acknowledge kiddos who are here every day and then emphasizing the importance of us looking at our data so that we can provide the services and wraparound supports for our students. And then around talent, for our priorities around talent, the actions that we are seeing right now is that staff are really taking up the opportunity that REF has provided, the Ravenswood Education Foundation has provided in terms of grants used to support teachers and classify team members to pursue other courses that are refunded and reimbursed, I should say. Our site leaders, coaches, and instructional leadership teams are supporting with the Wednesday professional development, where we're internalizing our curriculum and the material that we're using to deliver instruction. Site leaders and coaches are already providing feedback to teachers, and we're documenting that feedback and tracking frequency, the type of feedback that's being provided. And there's going to be a lot of work around calibration of that feedback. And then we're encouraging team members interested to continue the journey in education if they want to become a teacher. So our human resources team is promoting the opportunity to partner with the San Mateo County Office of Ed to participate in teacher residency and become a teacher here in the district. And again, it's just an emphasis on the work that we're doing collectively as one district to achieve our goals at the end of this year, so we can stay on track and meet our expectations and our learner profile to come into fruition. In addition, in terms of sense of belonging, we do have a special presentation today where we would love our community members, team members, to present our proclamation resolution recognizing September 15th as National Hispanic and Latine Heritage Month in our district. And so if it's okay if we proceed. I'll introduce to you our DEIB coordinator, Valeria Miranda.
Don't we make a motion first and then we read it before we approve?
Oh, is that what you're asking me? I'm sorry, Miss Trustee Nunez.
All right, so I will entertain a motion to approve resolution, SY 26.
I will make a motion to approve proclamation resolution number SY 26-7, recognizing September 15 to October 15 as National Hispanic and Latina Heritage Month.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Board of Trustees, Superintendent Zubaria. Hi, my name is Valeria Miranda. I am the DEIB coordinator here at Ravenswood. I just want to take a moment and thank you guys for letting us have this moment to celebrate Latino, Latina, Latine, Latinx Heritage Month. Especially right now, I feel like it is critical that we celebrate our students and bring in that joy for them. And so I just want to thank you all and take a moment to thank our teachers and our staff that are here, that are ready to celebrate our students and just bring that joy. Our staff will and our student will introduce themselves and then we'll go into reading the proclamation.
Hello, my name is Eileen Perez. I work at the Costano School site and I'm the campus relations coordinator there.
Hello, I am in 5th grade and I'm at Bellhaven.
Hello, I'm Miss G and I'm in Bellhaven and I'm a 5th grade teacher. Hi, I'm Blanca. I work at Los Robles and I'm the outreach coordinator. Whereas National Hispanic Heritage Month and Latino, Latina, Latine Heritage Month in the United States are observed each year from September 15 to October 15 to celebrate the histories, cultures, and contributions of Americans whose ancestors came from the Caribbean, Central, North, and South America, and Spain. And
whereas the month as an important reminder of how much strength we draw from our indigenous Afro and immigrant roots, as well as our values as a nation of immigrants. Whereas the month includes the independence days of several Latin American countries, including Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Mexico, Chile, and Belize. And whereas the Latino, Latina, Latine community is exceptionally diverse and includes indigenous and Afro people from throughout the Americas. And
This celebration provides a wonderful opportunity to highlight the diversity of the Latino, Latina, Latine community and its many and rich contributions to the Ravenswood City School District. And whereas the Latino, Latina, Latina community comprises the largest racial or ethnic group in the United States, with the largest population living in California and represents 84% of students in Ravenswood City School District. And whereas members of the Latino, Latina community have made countless contributions to the United States economy and culture, serving in all branches of the armed forces as dedicated public servants and as leaders in education, healthcare, business, and entrepreneurship and other professions.
whereas the Heritage Celebration provides a wonderful opportunity to highlight the diversity of the Latino, Latina, Latine community and its many and rich contributions to the Ravenswood City School District. And whereas Ravenswood stands in solidarity with our Latina community members, affirming our commitment to equity, justice, and safety for all families regardless of immigration status. Now, therefore, be it resolved, Ravenswood City School District has an important role to play in educating students and the larger community about the diversity of the Latina community and its contributions to our local community, the state of California, and the United States of America.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Do we have any comments? You gonna put me on the spot. I think it's so amazing to have such a not diverse, but everyone from across the district to come in on your time and say this. And I especially appreciate the additions, because not every year is this proclamation the same. But I love that our district is taking a stand in trying to be there for our families, because this is our community and we need to take care of each other, especially now. So thank you so much, and I can't wait to see the celebrations and eat all of the different delicious food that exists in the Latino culture, right? But thank you so much for making it out, and I look forward to this. And then we also want to take a picture.
Yeah.
So if we can have you all come up so we can take a picture. And then at some point, I would be really interested to see the demographics of our staff. Because I think it's really amazing, even when I walk my daughter to school, that she's seen in our staff and feels connected. So thank you all. Okay, with that, we will move on to item number 7, which is the Ravenswood in Action update.
Might be a mysterious agenda title here. I have everyone's attention from the audience. It's going to be kind of fun for me. Similar to Tam in so many ways, I don't like talking about a lot of things, despite how much time I spend up here. One of my first board meetings, we presented the Williams findings from all of our schools on the facilities front. So that was every cracked sidewalk, every curb, all kinds of problems, and just a long list. I think, President Bowen, you were the only one on the board at the time, and got pretty ugly, sort of highlighting all the defects in our schools. We haven't talked too much about operations or finance other than sort of regular reports. And I wanted to start talking about them a little bit more, because we've made some really exciting progress in a lot of areas. And I wanted to talk about some of the great things that are happening that you aren't hearing about in Ravenswood. And I thought this would just be a fun little series I might try, see how tonight goes, I guess, to highlight some of that work. That is the Ravenswood in Action premise. Let's see, can I click? All right, this is our previous financial software. You guys should be paying attention to the back, Joan, Austin, and Jesse, and everyone. But this is our previous financial software. It was called Financial 2000. It was abbreviated to F2K, which was the county paying tribute to the Y2K bug. It is truly the single worst piece of financial software I have ever seen in 20 years as an education professional. It only ran in Internet Explorer. There was a crisis last year when the county when Internet Explorer was discontinued. The county was unsure if they were going to be able to give us access to our financial software. This is what our financial software looks like today. It runs in all known web browsers very naturally. It is seamless. It looks like a professional piece of software. You can log on, see how much you got paid, and understand it. You can log on and buy something from Amazon, and it will be here quickly because Amazon was invented before this particular piece of software, unlike Financial 2000. How did we get here? This was really, really, really hard. It looks easy. It sounds easy. It was not easy. It was anything but easy. And it took a ton of work from people in this room to make happen. This is some of the list of the problems, and it is only the problems that I am aware of, which I am sure these three are texting about because it is a very incomplete list of all the problems, right? It is a very incomplete list of the problems. Why does this matter? Well, here's what happens to a neighboring district. I'm not going to name names. I'm just going to show some news articles, but I won't name names. In a nearby district, a couple of years ago, they rolled out software. It went so badly that people didn't get paid for 10 months. People got paid the wrong amount. Teachers moved into the district office because they were so upset about not being paid. Right? So what did they do? They rolled out a new software. Amazingly, they rolled it out at the exact same time we rolled out the exact same process. This is, as any good PhD student knows, a natural experiment. How did it go? Here are some articles about how it went. $20 million later, still snafus, still labor complaints. Here is the same news search for Ravenswood. We have not, to my knowledge, had any staff members living in the district office. It has not been perfect. We still had payroll problems, but we have many, many fewer than we would have had if it wasn't for these three folks, right? And so I want to start my sort of first Ravenswood action update, just highlighting something that nobody in this room really knows about, which is the best thing ever. The goal is for no one to be thinking about payroll when you're working with kids and working with other stuff. You don't want to be thinking about getting paid, or is your W-2 going to end up on a website that anybody can see? You don't want to worry about those things, right? And so these three folks, Jesse Latimeric, Austin Batson, and Joan O'Neill, all with pictures that are on the internet and readily available of them, really did just heroic work this summer. God knows how many hours they worked. Jesse and Austin, of course, were new in their roles more or less this summer, and we're managing through just an unbelievable amount of work to get where we are. And so I want to take a moment just to celebrate sort of something that I'm guessing the trustees had no idea about. It was a massive undertaking and a massive step forward for the district in terms of being able to accurately track money, get people paid, and manage our various software.
So they probably don't want all of this attention, but it's a well-deserved recognition. And I'm so pleased that Will has provided this time to inform the board about the work that these three individuals, along with some other support in the department, but specifically Austin Batson, Joan O'Neill, and Jesse Ladomirac. I think there was only one little issue, and it happened to be his. Yeah. And they made us look good, right? So I would like for the three of them to come up here because, you know, we got to get it for the gram. And board, if we can please take a picture with them as well, because it is a feast. Cam, we're going to take a pic.
And if anyone wants to escape, this is a perfect time to escape the board meeting before we do any other presentation. All right, we will now move on to item number 8, which is our vital signs presentation.
Trustees, as we alluded, our staff implemented or administered the beginning of the year assessments. And so we have our Director of Strategy and Academic Operations, Joy Shin, along with our Director of Teaching and Learning, Shana Tigre, our Data Assessment Coordinator, Kennedy Reed, and our Assistant Director of Human Resources, Austin Batson, who will co-present.
Okay. Great. Fabulous. So we are going to be talking about our 3 priorities and the data that we have to benchmark from the start of this year. So again, just to really drive the point home in case you don't know these 3 priorities yet, they are language and literacy, attendance, and talent. We will say it every time. And this is, again, not just coming from superintendent or district leaders. This is coming from our student data. It's coming from our team members at the schools, and it's coming from our students and our families. And it's all working towards bringing our learner profile to life. So I won't go into the goals too specifically, since Superintendent Sudaria mentioned this in the superintendent report. But we do have very clear goals, measurable goals for the end of this school year across each of these 3 priorities. And so the data we're sharing today represents the baseline that we're comparing to know how far we are from these end of year goals, to know what we'll be looking at throughout the year to see if we're on track to reach those end of year goals, and to talk through some of the actions that our team members are already taking this year to move towards these goals. And so to start it off, I will turn it over to Shana Tigre, our Director of Teaching and Learning.
Right. Good evening. This is my first time being up here, and I'm excited because I get to share some exciting data with you today. All right. So our CATS data is indicating that we are making progress in both ELA and math. Super exciting to share. And at the same time, we know that we still have a journey ahead of us and a lot of work to make our Ravenswood promise a reality. We are going to continue to have a laser focus on meeting our academic goals for this year by deepening and strengthening the adoption and implementation of our ELA curriculum across grade levels, and ensuring that our teachers are getting continuous feedback through cycles of observation and coaching. Let's take a look at our ELA CASP data first. So some really exciting growth here. As a whole, we grew 12 points in distance from MET as a district, which means that on average, our students grew more than a year. They're showing accelerated growth. That's really exciting. And we have 12% of our students meeting or exceeding the grade level standard. I know that the board also asked for some information about the median growth. We did run that data as well, and it's very comparable to what we're seeing with the average growth. Some highlights, some bright spots within this data, is that moving 12 points is getting us very close to our goal for this year, which is to move 12 points. 12 points the state considers significant growth. So we are aiming for that this year. And our 3rd and 6th grade scores made a lot of progress and already exceeded that 15-point growth goal. So we are going to be looking to magnify that effect across all of our grade levels. In math, we made some growth as well. 5 points of growth at the end of last year, which also equates to more than 1 year of growth for our students. So again, seeing acceleration there. And 7% of our students are in the met or exceeded proficiency levels. Some bright spots we want to shout out is our 3rd grade math scores were 22 points closer to distance from met, which is really exciting growth. And Castano's math scores were 17 points closer. So shout out to those teams. We will be working this year to solidify a standards aligned, strong math curriculum so that we can ensure that all of our students are getting strong curriculum in front of them every day and strong math instruction. Let's take a look at our iReady reading data. So this is our beginning of the year baseline data, and it shows that 8% of our students are at or above grade level, which is pretty comparable to where we started last year. We'll be keeping an eye on this data throughout the course of the year with several progress monitoring points happening throughout the year and ensuring that our instruction continues to be responsive to what we're seeing in our students' data on iReady. Now we're going to talk a little bit about our multilingual learners and some exciting growth we're seeing there. So from last school year, or 2023 to 2024, and 2024 to 2025, we saw 27% of our multilingual learners grow by at least 1 level on the summative LPAC. That's really exciting. Our goal for this year is to increase that to 50%. We also saw that 60% of our multilingual learners maintained their current LPAC level. An important thing to note about that is the LPAC assessment gets more rigorous every year. So when we're talking about maintaining a level, there's still growth happening there because kids are rising to the increased grade level bar of that assessment. We also know that we have continued to work to do in this area as 12% of our students actually decrease in their LPAC level. So this is going to be continued to be addressed through dedicated ELD time happening in the UT2T blocks. Oops. Okay, and finally, our foundational reading data, the place where it all begins. Exciting stuff happening here as well. Our baseline data at the beginning of this year shows that 34% of our students are at or above the benchmark. This is exciting because that's an increase from 22% at the end of last year. I'm sorry, at the beginning of last year. That's a testament to all of the hard work and the consistency that is happening in our foundational reading programming, because now we're actually experiencing a trickle up effect where our kids are coming in more and more proficient, and that puts us in a really good place to build on increasing proficiency across the grade level spans. Our goal this year is to get to 65% of our TK through 2nd graders reading on grade level. Okay, thank you for your time. I will now pass it over to Kennedy.
Can I ask a question before you? I think the graphic for the TK in 2nd is really good. And I think that if you went back 2 slides, if we pull the 2 ones, like the 2 beginning of the years, you can see that kind of growth as well. So yeah, and so maybe in the future, putting the 2 beginning of the years next to each other so people can see that we're starting at a better place compared to the beginning of last year. And then that way we can start seeing the growth through the beginning of the years. And then I just, in general, do we have anything that tracks the students that were with us in TK versus the kids that joined in kindergarten? Because I think that would be another graphic as well. Because I wonder if the numbers are a little bit skewed with students that didn't do TK and the ones that did. And I'd be interested in that information in the future.
Thank you. I agree, especially looking at cohort match data is really important too, because we want to see if kids that are staying in Ravenswood are growing with us over time. We'll pass it over to Kennedy now, who's going to be sharing some attendance highlights with you.
Through the chair, if I may, I just need to interrupt to ask a really important question. Are you Kennedy from the POLS program or data science program?
The data science
Oh my God. It just hit me. Sorry. We had a data, exactly. We literally had a class together. No. And I knew you looked so familiar. I was like, why does she look so familiar? And then it just hit me just now. So I'm so sorry. I've been so like done all this time probably. Sorry. I know that was really important for everyone. Welcome to Ravenswood. Good to see you again.
Yes, I'm Kennedy Reed, Data and Assessment Coordinator. So I'll take us through the second part, our big rock number 2, attendance. Okay, so starting out with an overview for attendance, I'm just looking at the data. We've been increasing attendance levels or attendance rates over the past few years. And this year we're starting out strong at 94%. And we're focused on attendance because it makes such a difference for students' academic outcomes when they're present at school. Then they get the instruction that they need to get the growth that we have for our goals. They also get to engage with their teachers and with their classmates to improve their kind of sense of community and how that affects their not only their academics, but just the joy and growth mindset that we're looking for in a Ravenswood Promise profile. And then for our goals for this upcoming year, we're continuing to strengthen our processes around attendance through the workflows that we have. We have different teams on sites that are working to support students that have lower attendance. We have family engagement as another focus, and we're also keeping track of our data on a very regular schedule to see how we're doing at a site level, at grade level, and focusing on students as well, so we can kind of monitor and be ready to support students when needed. Now I'll take us into a couple of visualizations of how we're doing for data so far in attendance. So here we're looking at average daily attendance for the entire district TK through 8 over the past several years. This graphic starts at the 2018-19 school year, so that's the last full school year before the pandemic began, and then bringing it all the way to the average daily attendance that we have for the start of this school year. So we see that attendance was pretty strong before the pandemic. We had a nice drop in the pandemic years and slowly increasing. And now we're at 94% ADA so far. Our goal for this year is 96% ADA, which would look like a student missing no more than 8 days of school over the entire year. So far, 25% of our students are meeting that goal of 96% attendance for the school year. And we're looking to kind of maintain the strong start that we have this year so far with efforts like family engagement, the attendance and incentives so students get to celebrate their progress, and then also the systems of support that we have at different schools to support our students when we notice their attendance is lower. Next, we'll take a look at chronic absenteeism. Again, this is across the entire district, starting at the 2018 and 2019 school years. And when we're looking at chronic absenteeism, it's going to be the yellow and red part of the bars, and that's saying that students were present for 90% of the school year or less. So they've missed at least 10% of the school year. So again, before the pandemic, we see that the chronic absenteeism was pretty low and started to increase as the pandemic continued. And then since the 2021-22 school year, we've been seeing a decline in the number of students who are chronically absent. In the last school year, 24-25, which is the last one that we have on our graph here, we had 34% of students who were chronically absent, and that was just about reaching our goal. We wanted to have 34 or under 34% of students chronically absent. So we're glad to see that decline from 40% the previous year down to 34% this past year. For the upcoming year, 25-26, our goal is to have fewer than 30% of our students with chronically absent attendance rates. And so it's again just continuing to rely on our support systems, family engagement, to help our students show up and be present to receive the instruction they need to grow academically. Right.
Future action. You want to ask first? Okay. Thank you for this information. I'm wondering about how these attendance rates compare to other schools across San Mateo County and across the state. Because again, I think I'm wondering if this is a Ravenswood specific issue. Is this a Ravenswood and schools like Ravenswood issue? If this is a new normal versus something that's just like, a new normal post-pandemic, given perhaps the increase in awareness of, COVID and other things, like if people are more apt to now say, stay at home, oh, you're coughing, stay at home versus before it was coughing and still show up wherever you had to go. And so it would be interesting to see that. I don't know if I've had that before. If I have, I'm sorry, but I don't think I've seen that. And if it is sort of a new normal, not just at Ravenswood, but everywhere, then I think I've talked to you about this before and thinking about what can we be doing to give folks meaningful, supplementary work or resources when they decide to stay home. So just to make sure that they are keeping up and they have access to what's going on. But yeah, thank you.
That's a good question to explore. Thank you.
My question was more about the one before. And it's just an ask.
Yeah.
If we can see what our ADA was before we went into lockdown. Because I think if 95.4% for the 1920 school year was when everyone was in lockdown, so virtually everyone was present. And so I think 96% is a great goal we should always achieve. Like, strive to go like higher and push our kids. But I wonder what the actuals are for that 1920 so that we can have something to really
kind of look
make sure that it's like more attainable and realistic for our demographics created post-pandemic.
Got it. So looking at that 1920 school year up
until April. Yeah. Oh yeah, March. Yeah.
Okay.
See what our ADA was pre-March. And then that way we can see 96 if are we shooting too high, which I don't think we are. We should always shoot high, right? But like at least we're more realistic in like how close we are to meeting that.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, be something we can look into.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And through the chair, just quick question for myself. When we look at this chart right here, we're comparing year to date with total year, right? So 25-26 is year to date.
This year so far up to about early September. Right.
Yeah. So I think for me personally, a visual would be nicer if we could see like what was the year to date for September 18, 19, 19, 20. You know what I mean?
Right.
So where were we like in the year for every one of those years as we're looking at this snapshot? Because I think like we know that this bar is, well, we want this bar to go up.
However,
so let me rephrase. We want this bar to go up, but I would love to know like where were we year to date in this snapshot, because the 25-26 is technically an invisible bar right now, right? We're not going to know that full year until at the end. So that would just help me visually to digest.
Yeah, that makes sense. And something I was looking at just for the previous year, up to the same point, we were at 94.2 ADA last year by this point. So, but to see the history of it would be nice as well. So keep that in mind.
And it might tell a better story, right? Right now it's 3rd, 4th, 5th week of school. So everyone's coming to school and it's throughout the year. Like, I wonder if we can break it down into quarterly or something per quarter. What was the percentage?
Yeah.
To see where it is that we should be pushing more. I'm sure that close to the holidays, everyone goes on vacation or misses a bit of school or because of schools and people getting sick. So I'd be interested in the story of the years. As Trustee Bloom started to say.
Yeah, we're looking to this. Thank you. Right, we pass it on to Austin Batson.
Actually, one more question,
go
but
ahead.
I think the superintendent can answer. Can you remind us of, how many days? Is it more than 8 to be chronically absent, or what is it?
More than 10%.
Yeah, 10%.
10%
Oh,
of
so
the year.
I meant to mention that. So that looks like about 18 days over the whole school year, which is about 4 weeks. So when a student's chronically absent, you get the whole school year. Yeah, 4 weeks. Thank you. Mhm.
Good evening, trustees. Austin Batson, Assistant Director of HR. I'm very excited to talk to you about where we are with talent and some exciting look backs and look forwards. So just kind of as our overview, as was on some of the earlier slides, we are in the process of developing, rolling out, implementing an all staff survey with a special focus on our new to district employees, new to district educators, classified certificated staff. I'm very excited to say that we currently have 9 teacher residents, student teachers this year, plus 3 additional Teach Start fellows, which are basically site-based subs. So we have 12, doing that math right, 9 plus 3, 12 student teachers, teacher residents on campus, learning, working with our students, getting familiar with our community, and vice versa. We're getting familiar with them. Very excited about that. We have some fellows or some residents at each one of our school sites. So that is very exciting there. This current year, we hired 2 former Teach Start fellows as full-time teachers this year. So we have had some really exciting success recruiting people who have been with us through these programs. They're starting off the year strong. We're very excited about that. Looking forward this year, as Joy mentioned, we are continuing our goal of teachers receiving at least 2 pieces of actionable feedback per month. We're going to continue tracking that and looking at that as we go throughout the year. To put a little bit of data on this is our backward look. So this is our teacher evaluations, the distribution of ratings from last school year. So from 2024 to 2025, we had 67 classroom teachers evaluated, which includes our classroom teachers, our specials, our sped teachers, interventionists, right there. It doesn't include all of our employees. It really focuses in on those classroom teachers. And about 30% of our teachers were off cycle. They weren't evaluated last year because they were on Portfolio D, which means that they had scored, they had been rated in applying, integrating, or innovating before. So looking at our ratings for last year, we had about 50% of our teachers rated as applying, which is really exciting. I think it's exciting for a couple of reasons. At applying, it is that middle of the evaluation scale. But when you go down and dig into the standards and look at each piece, that means our teachers are engaging and supporting all students. That means they are planning instruction, assessing for learning, creating those effective learning environments. And when you really get down into it, it is a high bar to be there, to be at applying, to be checking all the boxes, to be doing all the things. And it's not shown here, but this evaluation year represents a big shift from being at the integrating and innovating, the higher side of the evaluation scale, shifting towards applying. And that really shows an effort of our site leaders, our principals and vice principals, calibrating and aligning on what it means to be looking at these standards, how to see them in the classroom, and having those conversations with the teachers. And unless there's any questions, that will take us to our summary. And I can see the question looks.
Okay, so I know maybe I should know this a little bit more in detail, but I would love to be explained again if it was in a packet that I should have read. So for Portfolio D, that is, you said 30% of teachers last year were in the applying, integrating, or innovating section. And so they were not they're not evaluated this year. Is that correct?
It was a little bit higher than 30%. So about, correct me if I'm wrong, last year, I think it was probably about 60% of our teachers were in the applying, integrating, or innovating categories. And half of those teachers were then split into off cycle, which is Portfolio D, and half of them were still on cycle. And that's an attempt to allow our evaluators to have much more detailed evaluations, have those conversations, really get in there and do that feedback.
Okay, so then, okay. And I think that then that answers what my question would have been is if we had what, 80% of teachers almost 80% of teachers who are in those three buckets, they don't all move to portfolio D. You're splitting the stuff so that 80% of our teachers are never not evaluated. Is that, or like,
It could shift depending on the outcome of the summative evaluation. So if our teachers receive emerging or exploring, then they will continue in the evaluation cycle the following year.
okay,
Additionally, only our permanent staff can move to portfolio D. So if someone is probationary 1, probationary 2, or intern teacher on probationary 0, they're going to remain on portfolio A until they become permanent.
okay. I think I think this is great. Like, I wanted to say that I'm glad that there's evaluations happening. I'm glad that we're seeing a lot of teachers and applying, integrating and innovating. I think my only caution that I'm feeling is that I don't want there to be a year where 80% of our teachers are in portfolio D and not being evaluated. I just think that wouldn't necessarily help our growth in talent. And so I just want to say that I would love for 100% of our teachers to always be considered for portfolio D. That would make me really happy. I just want to make sure that we are always thinking about how we can push ourselves to integrate and innovate and get to that highest level, even if we're at like applying and integrating and innovating. If 100% of our teachers are innovating, I still want to see our teachers evaluating to see like what more we can do. Right. So I think this is coming from a perspective of all of us having that mindset of like always continuing to grow. And so that's where this comment is coming from.
I agree. And I agree in the sense that it's important that they're always getting feedback. And so regardless if they're on portfolio D, the expectation is they're constantly getting feedback on their instruction. Yeah. And also I would add that it would be challenging, and that's why we offered the portfolio D, to have a cycle where there's 80% of the teachers on cycle as well. So we want to be mindful of that. And we're constantly working with the executive negotiations team too, with our TA, to just make sure we're in balance and in sync with this talent initiative. Anything else you would add?
I think just understanding like what our current retention rates, turnover are, I absolutely agree. We wouldn't on a cycle where 80% of the teachers are not evaluated. I don't think that is in the cards looking at our just probationary permanent numbers right now, but that's an excellent point. Thank you.
My question is stemming from last time's special board meeting. And at that time, you said that we have information on student outcomes per teacher. And so I'm kind of interested to see, and it doesn't have to be here because I don't want to put anyone on blast, but is there a correlation between the teachers that are applying, integrating, innovating? And are there students doing really well on the iReady or like their outcomes? Are there like, is there some type of correlation between our amazing teachers and the outcomes? And if so, that's something to celebrate, and hopefully that's what's happening. And if not, then we'll like if there's a correlation, then cool, we have to build on that and work with people that aren't doing that, you know? And so I'm just interested to hear at some point, maybe during one of our school committee or curriculum and learning, to see if, like more data about like, is there, because I would hope that in the classes that are applying, integrating and innovating, those student outcomes are also higher.
I mean, that's the theory, right? As we improve the instruction, and that should be reflected in the summative evals, then outcomes, student outcomes should improve as well. That's the theory, right? Student outcomes will improve with stronger instruction. Stronger instruction happens with frequent feedback, and that should be reflected overall in the summative evaluation. So we can explore that further, to look into that. But that is the theory of action. Is we want high quality teachers delivering high quality instruction to improve student outcomes.
And then we can see it in student outcomes. So if there's a way to like graphically show that, and it doesn't have to be out loud, but I'd be interested to see like those correlations and if they match up.
And I also, I think, I'm assuming you're saying this, but just it's like outcomes meaning growth, student growth, right? Like that is what we're looking at, is the growth, where they started and where they ended. So I want to be clear on that's what I mean, at least, and maybe what you and what we see.
Thank you, trustees. Any other questions right now before I turn it over to Joy? Thank you.
Okay, I don't think I have too much more to add because our team members were so thorough in their explanations, but just want the board and our community to know that we are continuing to use data to inform our practices, both in instruction and in developing our team members. And we are also continuing to strengthen our partnerships with families and community organizations, because we know that this work doesn't happen just in our classrooms with our classroom teachers. It happens when all of us partner together. So just a quick plug that there are going to be another round of Ravenswood Promise Walks at the end of October for families to come and see instruction in progress. And we will also have a more in-depth data step back with families and the community in November as well. So stay tuned for more details on that. But yeah, that concludes our presentation.
Just one comment, Joy. I do want to say that I did get an invitation as a parent to join a Zoom meeting from you, right, to talk about some of the just implementing feedback that we gave in our last study session. Was, can we create something for parents to see where their kids should be at? So I just want to shout out to the team who created that in a very short amount of time and have implemented it before the goal setting conferences, which were happening next week. And I just think that it's great for us to see that in a snapshot and in one picture, and just the fact that we have that space available for parents to join and ask those questions, and even having key dates. I'm just going to read it because I'm not going to love that. Key dates and information for assessments and student data. So even engaging parents to know what are the key dates for the assessments that are coming up, what is the data that we're looking at, and how are we looking at it, what questions we can ask as parents to the teachers. So I just want to appreciate the work that I'm sure you and your whole team and the whole district team put into making that. And I might just sign in to hear what's going on, and maybe they'll ask some questions. So if you're a parent and you didn't see that, check your parent square. There is 2 emails and a Zoom link to join that. So thank you for implementing that feedback in 2 weeks. So thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to also just shout out, in case y'all don't know, we have a rock star team of parent leaders who have been advocating for similar resources this summer, who really actively worked with me to share feedback on what would make the resource most useful for parents. And so this is a testament to what happens when we work together with our community. So thank you all.
Okay, we will now move on to item number 9. I will now open the Williams textbook and material sufficiency hearing at 7:04 p.m.
Great. Dr. Omar Curry will just make a brief statement.
Hello, President Yes, trustees. Yes, we're required by California Ed Code to hold a public hearing to determine whether or not every Ravenswood City school student has sufficient instructional materials that align to the California state standards. This is an opportunity for the public to get feedback on the curriculum. Thank you.
Do we have any public comment for this?
Through the chair, I have no speaker.
Amazing. So I will adjourn the Williams textbook and material sufficiency public hearing at 7:05 p.m. All right, so now I will entertain a motion to approve resolution number 2606, which is to approve the resolution on sufficiency of textbooks or instructional materials for this fiscal year of 25-26.
Through the chair, I'll make a motion to approve item number 10.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Oh, no, sorry.
Oh, sorry, you have to read it. Sorry.
So quick. Resolution number 2606. Whereas the Board of Trustees, Board of Education of the Ravenswood City School District to comply with the requirements of section 60119, et cetera, et cetera.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes, the resolution, 3-0. We will now move on to item number 11, which is a consideration to approve the 24-25 unaudited actuals.
Thank you. Good evening, trustee Superintendent Sudaria. I am here to present our school year 24-25 unaudited actuals. There we go. The theme of tonight's presentation is stability. With both our revenues and expenditures, we have changed very slightly from last year, almost not at all. Our total revenue, we've seen some growth in state revenue, which has helped close the gap between with the expiration of federal stimulus funding. And of course, we continue to receive the generous increased contribution from REF for the talent initiative. With expenditures, it's much the same story. We've seen some increase in certificated salaries and benefits that has been offset by savings in other areas. And as a result, we have very little change in expenditures from last year. What has changed with expenditures is the mixture of our funding sources. We have, you'll see later in the presentation, an increase in state and general fund dollars, which is making up a larger portion of our total spending as a result of the expiration of our stimulus funds. This is the second year of our planned deficit spending as we're spending down the surplus that we built up during the COVID era. And as a result, we are able to maintain our per pupil expenditure levels. And for the second year in a row, we were running a slight deficit of about 1.5. All right, this is a illustration of our budget cycle. We are actually entering the few short months in the year where we are going to live almost entirely within one budget year. With this presentation, we are officially closing the books on school year 24-25 and kind of passing the baton to our auditors. And although we are continually strategizing and budgeting and planning for multi-year projections, we have not yet started the deep dive work with our budget owners to develop our initial budget projections for school year 26-27. So for a couple months, we're going to live almost entirely within the current school year, which is exciting for the business office for a lot of reasons. One of them is that we, for a short time, are not going to be confused by what year we are in. We spend a lot of time having conversations and talking about this year, last year, next year, and looking at each other and saying, what year are you talking about? So now we know right now what year we're talking about, what was last year, what's this year, what's next. So to give you a little bit more detail on revenue and expenditures, this is a breakdown of our revenue this year. There's been some small increases and decreases in different categories, but the bottom line is almost no net change over last year, just about $100,000. And the same story with expenditures. I do want to point out one thing, that this year we spent $1.4 million more on people, which is a good thing. And we were able to offset those spending increases with some savings in other places. And again, the net
change over last year is only a few $100,000. What has changed is the mixture of our funding sources. This is sort of a visual illustration of what's happened since the COVID era began. You'll see that big blue band is the general fund spending that was higher when the pandemic first hit, and then it dipped as federal stimulus funding took up a larger portion of our revenue, and now it's going back up. You'll also see the gray band is state funding. That has increased again fairly significantly as a portion of our revenue. And this year in large part because of new state LCFF equity multiplier funds. And you've seen this slide before. This is an illustration of what we've sort of been talking about, our three eras: the surplus era, the deficit era, and back to balanced. We are now, as I mentioned, in the second year of, we just finished up the second year of the deficit era. And I'm happy to report we are well on our way to getting back to balanced within the time frame that was originally set out. And the final slide just gives an illustration of what's going on with our reserves. The red line is the 17% economic uncertainty target level. You can see before the pandemic, we dipped below that and then above it. And then during the stimulus era, we went up and then up again. And now in school year 24-25, you'll see the arrow starting to head back down as we start to spend down our reserves as planned. So,
Make sure, I'm sorry. Would you mind going back one slide?
Yep.
for me? Thank you.
this one.
I just need a moment. I'm just looking at the back to down. And I'm wondering if this includes the impact of the permanent school closing and the increase expenditures with those students. That might be
Does this, the balance, I will say the time frame of back to balanced does include that to the extent that we can nail it down. So yes, when I say that we are on track to get back to balanced within the original time frame, we are considering taking all that into account. And how much more detail you want to have.
I just added that the graph doesn't reflect the primary school impact. So I think what Jesse's right in saying, oh, my pointer doesn't work on the TV anymore. Now in our new technology, kind of creates some physical problems. But we will see sort of a bump in both the green line from a revenue perspective and the gray bars from an expenditure perspective because of the primary school closure. So we're expecting to see more revenue and more expenditures. The revenue line will then dip when that grant expires, but the sort of theory here remains the same of the back to balanced era should be sort of. So that substantively, this is correct, but I think mechanically now a little bit more, we should actually have updated this just to reflect the jump in SY 26, 27. So, did that answer your question?
Yes. I just want a little clarity because I know you have the limited increase in revenue up to a certain point, and then that's going down, right? It's going back to whatever, maybe I'll just call it our bases, but we do expect those expenses to increase at a certain, school year 34 or 35?
Yes, 31, 32. So it is sort of the furthest out far, but yeah, the line will kind of the green line would jag a little, but the gray bars would continue to go sort of at a level.
I think the question is, will the green line be above the gray bar in 31? But I'm trying to be so basic here. Is that we understand that and we think I think, well, sorry, I'm speaking for you, but
I'm speaking for you now.
I'm speaking for myself now. I understand that. And I understand Trustee Shpomihi's question, because I think the question is this green bar, the revenue side, once that dip happens, and the gray bar, the expenditure side, stays high without the revenue coming in, are we gonna be back to balance? And I know that it's too far ahead to really think about it, but that is a question that we all have. And I think that maybe we would feel, or I would feel better about it, if we knew, like, just like you set this up for us how many years ago to talk about what the plans are, how we're going to get that green bar to be above the, how we're going to get the revenue to be above the expenditure, what the plans are, how we're moving towards that. And I think that we just need a little bit more clarity for that. We do understand that I understand that it's hard to think that far ahead. However, I would love to know, like, what is the thinking for that far ahead? And if we know that there's always going to be crazy things that happen, just like it happened within the last 2 years, right? So with that said, like, what is the plan? Not thinking about the outliers and things that we cannot control, but the things that we can control, what is that plan? And I'm not saying that we need that today, but I think that is a question that I have that is feeding off of the original question that Trustee Chabot made.
I think a couple of things. I totally agree. I do think part of what I like about this graph is that we are trying to make the point of, hey, this was the plan 5 years ago. We have not changed this slide other than moving the dotted line over. What I hear the trustees saying that's inarguably correct is, hey, some of the facts have changed. Our underlying financials and our models and our thinking didn't account for this, right? So we should be updating this. Totally hear you. I think it's a fair. Second, the state requires us to plan 3 years in advance. I am 99% confident, knock on wood, that we will be very fine in 3 years. I am 90% confident that in 6 years we'll be very fine. I'm nervous about a 10-year horizon, right? Which gives us a lot of time to react and figure out sort of where we're going to take off. We don't know, as you guys have pointed out, what we're going to get hit on, right? So I'm not trying to act like I can sit here and say, 100% certainty in 10 years. But we do have a plan, and we do expect for to use your sort of very simplistic phrase, in 10 years, the green line to be above the gray bars. I think we have a solid path for getting there, but 10 years is 10 years. I think what we can say tonight is we are very confident in our next sort of 3 to 5 years to where we built that up. But we do have long-term. They are truly long-term, and we want to give ourselves as much time and resources and money in the bank to nail that.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that. I think that the number of variables, what I said before, we're always planning and projecting, and the number of variables, Will and I have done like complex algebra with like the number of variables and things that could change and go up and down. And I was a parent through COVID, right? Like 7 years ago, 6 years ago, none of us would have thought that a worldwide pandemic would hit and what that would do to school district financing and public financing. So I think the fact that we're confident in this as far as we can see with all of our algebraic variables, and I think we're shining the flashlight down the tunnel as far as we can see to the end. And as we keep getting closer to the end, the flashlight will go farther and we'll make sure we can still see it. Are there any more questions? There's going to be a number of votes. We also need you to accept you're ready. Yeah, that includes our presentation here. I don't think you want me to.
Perfect. So I will entertain a motion to approve the district's fiscal year 24-25 unaudited actions.
I'll make a motion to approve FY 24-25 unaudited actions.
Do I have a second?
All right, thank you. I just want to be sure.
There's like 3.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's just.
So this is item 11. Nope. Those are all
Just-
separate.
Gotcha. Yep, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, motion passes 3-0 for item 11. And now we'll go to 11A.
Yeah, that's what I was going to try to lay out for you. There's 3 things.
Got it.
So 2nd and 3 are the consideration to accept KIP's 24-25 unaudited actuals, and then consideration to accept Acts 24-25 actions. They're both attached to the agenda.
Do you have any comments for us about them?
So I will entertain a motion to approve, Kip Valiant's unaudited actions for 24-25.
I'll make a motion to approve item 11A, KIP's Valiance unaudited actions.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. We will then move on to B. I will entertain a motion to accept Aspire EPAC's 24-25 unaudited actuals.
I'll make a motion to approve EPAC's unaudited.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. We are now moving on to item number 12, which is a consideration to approve resolution SY 26-8, adopting the GAN limit.
This is the most exciting item on the agenda tonight. I know this is our annual GAN limit resolution. As a governmental entity in California, we're constitutionally and statutorily required to formally adopt an appropriations limit for each fiscal year. There's one resolution if our limit is increasing and a different resolution if it's not increasing. So ours is not increasing. That's the resolution we have prepared for you tonight. We can take any questions if you have any. Otherwise, we recommend that you approve it.
So I will entertain a motion to approve resolution number 26-08.
I'll make a motion to approve item number 12.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Resolution 2608. Whereas in November of 1979, the California electorate did adopt Proposition 4, commonly called the GAN amendment, et cetera, et cetera.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 3-0. We will now be moving on to closed session. Do we have any members of the public who would like to address anything that is agendized for closed session? As I see none, I will adjourn to closed session at 7:23 p.m. Welcome back. We will reconvene open session at 7:52 PM. For item 13A, we had some discussion, but no action was taken. We are now moving on to item number 16, which is the resolution to approve the consideration to approve resolution number SY 2605, which is the board member excuse absences. I will entertain a motion to approve item 16.
I will make a motion to approve resolution number SY 2605, board member excused absences for trustee Latu and trustee Tavera.
Do I have a second?
I second. And I need to read, sorry, I have to take my here. Look on my resolution number 26-05, board members excuse absence. Whereas Education Code 35138085 authorizes that each member of the board of 4 7 4 in the two trustees, trustee Latu and trustee Tavera.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Resolution passes 3-0. The next regular board meeting will be held on September 25th, 2025 at 6 PM. And so for now, our regular board meeting on September 11th, 2025 is adjourned at 7:53 PM.